Ladies and gentlemen, Fight Bananas presents Coffee and KO's podcast. We're crazy about fights and jacked on caffeine.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Coffee and KO's podcast. This is your host, Zach.
What's going on, guys? This is Steve.
And another week of fights, 2 cards in 1 week. It feels like 3 cards in 1 week, but so we're turning it right back around. It's kind of sad. We got to move right on from the incredible performance that Max Holloway puts on and just almost kind of have to forget about it while we move on to the next card here. And this is going to be a packed show for you guys. We have 2 cards that we are previewing, making picks for both cards. And before we get started, let's give a round of applause to our producer over here, Mr. Carey. He is in first place off of last week's picks, man.
Listen, there's a method to my madness, and you're going to see in 2021 that you're going to find out, right? That the method works.
It works.
It works.
So like you have a secret like algorithm type thing that you're working with to get these right?
Yeah, man. It's just called creativity. You just got to be creative with your picks, and it'll fall in place.
Yeah, man. He nailed it. He nailed it. I don't know if this is going to be maybe the first and only week that he's going to be on top, or maybe he's just been studying this whole time, and we're in for a tough year for me and you.
I think what we're going to see is there's going to be a steady trend of scary carry picks winning, and just Carey's just going to take it this year.
And you know what's bad is we actually didn't wear the wigs this episode, which we're gonna listen. We'll do it next episode. Listen,
I can go get you the wig.
No, I have my wig.
We'll do it. We'll do it. No. Next one. Because listen. We already started. We can't just Nope. We're not doing it now. We're doing it next episode. Nope. Next episode.
Not only did Carey
next episode.
The first round of fights in 2021, but he also got the scary carry pick one. You have to put the wig on.
I don't have to put the wig on.
That's the rules.
Next episode. This is like going to be a long episode. There's 2 cards.
Listen.
That's like having to wear a wig for 2 shows.
Listen.
Can we compromise? We get
this
this
on the whole time.
We
you
wear
keep it on for the first picks. That's fine.
That's what I was going to say.
Man,
maybe we do half the show.
If you don't do it, we're just living in a lawless land.
All right, we'll do half the show. So the second half of the show, when we start previewing McGregor and Poirier, we'll wear it.
All right, fine.
I'm in.
Okay. All right, so those of you that are watching, stay tuned because we will throw on our ridiculous wigs halfway through this show. But anyway, yeah, so we have Chiesa, Magny coming up. Steve, before we get into the card, I know that you have some little bit of news and matchups that were made. So let's run that before we start previewing here.
Yeah, we actually had some awesome matchups that got booked recently. And we had a few title fights that just were announced. So the first one I have here. So again, we're going to go into this. It's called Rate the Matchup. So I'll read off the matchup. You tell me 1 to 5 where you think this matchup is. So the first one, and I kind of have a feeling where you'll go with it, but it's Francis Ngannou and Stipe 2 will fight in March at UFC 260, 1-5. Where do you see that?
It's a 5 for me. I think it's a 5 because one, I'm excited for the heavyweight division to finally like move forward. I feel like it's been forever. I mean, it really hasn't been forever, but it feels like forever since DC and Stipe. And I'm excited for Francis. Like I love Stipe. I've been a Stipe guy for a while. He's talked about retiring here for a while, so I'm interested to see because he was threatened for a little bit in that first matchup with Francis. We'll kind of see if Stipe takes that same approach as he did the first fight, which he got caught. He did get caught, a few times. He weathered the storm and ended up riding it out and getting the win. So I'm excited whenever Francis fights. He's obviously electric. The guy's hands, aside from the Derek Lewis fight, which is easy, it's like one of the forgettable fights that will never be forgotten because of how terrible it was. Aside from that, he's put on great performances. I feel like almost every time he's been out. So I'm excited. And whenever Francis steps in the octagon, I feel like it's at least a 4.
Yeah, that's what I was going to kind of go with. I didn't want to toss this one a 5. I want to say it's like a 4, fringe 4.5, just because we've already seen this fight. And I know we always kind of like build these things up. We think it might go differently the second time. I mean, I definitely think, Francis has gotten better since then, but who's to say this isn't going to go the same exact way? We don't really know if Francis still has like any better cardio than he did before. And if Stipe is able to, maybe take a shot or two and keep it going and go into round 2 and 3, he's going to win that fight again. So I'm not getting too hyped, not throwing it a 5, but I think like a 4.5 is more appropriate.
Wait, now Stipe fought. Did he fight Cormier 3 times in a row? Like, was it DC?
I don't think so.
Or did he fight? I don't remember. It's been so long. So, because I was going to say maybe Stipe's chin isn't all there since he got knocked out by DC that first time. Because DC was the champ, and then it was Stipe again.
Yeah, so, and Stipe did, he lost like a good amount of weight. He came into that last fight against DC very lean. So does that kind of take away from your chin as well?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I mean.
It's a scary matchup.
Didn't we say Francis champ by the end of 2021?
Did we say? I think we both actually said that. Yeah, I think you're right.
I think this is where it happens.
Damn. All right. Well, I mean, it's going to be some, and so UFC 260 is looking stacked. So this is the next fight that got announced, and obviously there's a lot more to it now that the Max fight just happened. But we have Alexander Volkanovski will defend against Brian Ortega on that same card at UFC 260. This one for me, this is the 5, just based on what we saw from Ortega in his last fight against Korean Zombie. That is just a completely new guy. Like the striking was phenomenal, and we know he's going to have the ground game. And like you said, like you're still just like not 100% in on Volkanovski. So this will be just a new test, a new challenge for him. So I think this one definitely has a 5 for me.
Yeah, I would have to give it a 5 as well. I just, like you said, I feel like even though he's defended the belt and even though he's been pretty dominant in the UFC, I think it's disrespectful the way that we talk about Volk, but I feel like it's also like well deserved because like the Max fight, okay, like the second one, everyone rewatches that, and I feel like almost everyone that rewatches it multiple times can say that Max won that fight. And then there was that, and then it's just stylistically at such a height disadvantage. How well can he really match up with all of those guys? I know that's so disrespectful to say because he's already done it, but I don't know. It's just something about it. I feel like, and if he takes Ortega to the ground, Ortega is, there's not many guys that you have to worry about off your back, in the UFC. And he is one of them that can just throw up submissions at any time in any position. And so that's why, and if he strikes the way that he was striking against Korean Zombie with that ground game, Brian Ortega is going to be hard to beat for anyone. Like if he really improved that well, like I know Max is tough, but if he can strike a little bit better against Max and then get the fight to the ground, I don't know. I'm not going to say I still think Max is the best in that division, but Brian Ortega looked really, really good. But at the same time, it is tough to like just sit here and put all this stock into one performance for Ortega. So I think that Volk deserves a little bit of credit, but yeah, I'm with you. There's so many questions about it that make it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah. So I agree. I think it's a massive fight. I think it's awesome. My question to you, if this fight wasn't booked, I feel like they just announced this recently. If Max put on that performance and the fight hadn't been booked yet, do you think Max would get the trilogy right now and they would, take it away from Ortega?
Yes, I do.
I do too.
I think that they 100% would lean towards Max. I mean, he's basically already said that. So Dana White already said, yeah, Max is going to fight Volk again, not even thinking. Like, I'm pretty sure he said it in the post-fight interview, like not even thinking that, oh shit, well, Volk and Ortega's already booked. Like, what am I talking about? So I think that Holloway matches up well with both of those guys. We've already seen what he does against Ortega, and again, the second fight against Volk was close. So
yeah, I think it is crazy though, and I think it was Volkanovski who like tweeted it, but he was just saying like, yes, look at what Max just did to Calvin, but look at what he did against me. He was a completely different fighter in both of those fights. Like, where was that Max in the last two fights? So I think you do have to give more credit to Volkanovski for being able to kind of shut him down and not let Max do his thing. So the third fight would be incredible. I really want to see that. And I do think if that fight hadn't been booked between Volkanovski and Ortega after that performance, I think it definitely would have, that we would be watching the trilogy soon.
And not often do you see a trilogy when it's 2 fights to none in the one fighter's favor, which is also very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk about that forever. But there's a couple of great fights that got booked. I'm so pumped about this. So the next one I have on my list, this is for a March 20th. I don't think it's a pay-per-view, but it's Paul Craig taking on Jamal Hill. Thoughts on that one?
I think Jamal Hill is going to run right through this man. He already ran through OSP. His striking is way too good. Paul Craig, man, okay, yeah, he beat Shogun. It's Shogun, and that's nothing against Shogun. Shogun right now is just not. He's not the same guy. Jamal Hill is a beast. I think that he has potential to skyrocket here in 2021. That's like a 3 for me, maybe 2.5. It doesn't get me that excited. Any Paul Craig fight, no disrespect to him. It's just that doesn't get my juices going.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a cool fight. Like if you're kind of more of like a hardcore fan, this is a really cool fight. Paul Craig has kind of had like a weird up and down career, but he's looked good in his last few fights. And then Jamal Hill is kind of like this up and coming big time prospect. And it's stylistically, it's kind of a weird matchup. It's striker versus BJJ guy. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I'm agreeing with you. I think it's like a 3 because they are pretty big names. They're not like, that's not like a 2 or a 1. Like that's going to be a pretty fun fight to watch. So I'll go with a 3. And then this next one, which is just awesome. I know we talked about it a little bit kind of off air, but Dan Ige agreed to fight Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall finally got someone to fight him. He will be back. That's going to be on a March 13th. Not a pay-per-view, but it's a fight night. What do you think?
That's a 4 for me. Because, I think Ryan Hall, like he's had tough tests in the UFC without a doubt, but Dan Ige is a monster. Like he's very good at striking. He's a very strong dude for that division. But, whenever Ryan Hall fights, I feel like you got to get excited because he's just so different. There aren't many guys in the UFC that have his style, if any. Like we talked about in our interview with L. Wagman is he's basically head kick and leg locks, and that's what he does, and he gets it done. But the thing is with Ryan Hall is he's a little bit older actually, but what's awesome about him is throughout all his fights, you've really seen improvement. And what's crazy too is no one wants to fight him. Like I think that's why I get so excited, because people will be like, yeah, I'll fight McGregor. I'll fight Francis. I'll fight whoever. Like they're not scared of these big, strong, guys with all this clout. But Ryan Hall, a guy that's maybe, I don't even know how many times he's fought in the UFC. It's not many times, but that's because stylistically, he's a nightmare because you don't know what he's going to do. He lives up to his nickname, the Wizard. Like he literally is a wizard. You don't know what he's going to do. The one fight, he literally did like Imanari rolls the whole entire fight and won. Like that's ridiculous to me. And that's because everyone knows like you can't get taken down by him or you're done. Like that's it. Fight's going to be over. It's almost as dominating, and this might be a high statement here, but almost as dominating as like what Askren's BJJ would be, or like what Damian Maia's BJJ would be. Like, but people will fight Maia. People don't want to fight Ryan Hall. It blows my mind.
Yeah, he is the funniest fighter. So he only has 2 fights in the UFC.
That's what I thought.
2-0.
Yeah.
He beat BJ Penn in 2018, submitted him in round 1, and then he had in 2019 another win. It was a I think either split or unanimous decision, but it went all 3 rounds. It was against Darren Elkins. So 2 tough competitors, gets the wins on both of them. I remember watching him on The Ultimate Fighter, and he just Imanari rolled his way to the top there. He didn't win The Ultimate Fighter, I don't believe, or did he? Did he beat Artem Lobov? Maybe
I don't remember. I feel like he doesn't get any love by like Dana either, because like he's a hard guy to promote, so he doesn't get the love in the UFC. But like if you look at the fight against BJ Penn, he was very one-dimensional, and then you look against Darren Elkins, like his head kicks were filthy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. It's just awesome. Like if you're like more of a hardcore MMA fan, you have to watch Ryan Hall. So this is, I'll give this one like a 4. Like this is a great fight. Dan Ige, he's a tough guy. We saw him against Calvin Kattar. He went all 5 rounds, took a ton of damage. He's a really good fighter. And Ryan Hall, I'm excited for that one. Next up on the same card, so this is the March 13th card. They put on Cyril Gane taking on, so my guy Cyril Gane, freaking love this guy. He is on a rocket ship to the top here, with especially against this matchup. He takes on Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Yeah, this is a 4.5 for me. Like this is so close to a 5 because these guys are kind of similar, like similar backgrounds, kickboxing backgrounds, both just large human beings. Like the heavyweight division is looking bright with some of these guys. Like Rozenstruik is, take away that loss against Francis. Like he was not ready for that yet, but he is going to be legit, and Gane is going to be legit. Both of these guys, I think, have massive amounts of potential. Great strikers. For big dudes, their striking is very, very good. I love this fight, and I honestly, I couldn't make a pick right now. I have to do, because I don't know. Like Gane looked great in his fight against JDS, but Rozenstruik, aside from his loss to Francis, has looked incredible. So and that's the other thing. Like we've seen Rozenstruik with his back against the fence losing a fight, and then he knocks out Overeem. So I don't know. That's a tough one to pick.
Yeah, super tough one to pick. It's just anyone going against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, it's just a terrifying matchup any way you look at it. I know he's had a few of those fights where he's been pretty much down the entire fight, and then he just comes out of nowhere, lands that giant uppercut, or pretty much any strike he throws, and you go down when you get hit. But again, then you watch the Francis Ngannou fight, and he just got completely steamrolled in 10 seconds. But that's Ngannou, but Cyril Gane is a big guy. He is a very good striker, but what I like about him is that he can take it to the ground, has a submission game, has a wrestling game. That's why I would give him the advantage here. But like I said, it's just super difficult in the heavyweight division. Literally anything can happen at any time. So I would give that one like a solid 4. Like I feel like it's right there. It's almost a 5, just given the implications. Whoever wins this fight, this is top 5 guys potentially. I think or Cyril Gane's number 7 right now. Rozenstruik is 3. So you could be looking at, whoever wins this might be taking on maybe Curtis Blades, or did he already get his fight booked?
I don't remember. I don't
maybe
know. I think they rebooked Lewis Blades.
Okay. So yeah, the heavyweight division, man, there's a lot going on here. It's going to get a little crowded at the top after this one. So I'll give it a solid 4. And then the last fight here, and we talked about this one. We actually broke a little bit of news. It's Jillian Robertson taking on Miranda Maverick coming up, actually, February 13th. What do you think about that? That's our girl, Miranda Maverick, in her second UFC fight.
That's like a 3.75 for me. I'm pretty excited about it. I like, I honestly, and this is no disrespect to our men at Fight Bananas, but I kind of think Miranda Maverick is going to run right through her. I really do. I think that she's more physical. She's the stronger of the two. Her striking looked really good, and that's not even her bread and butter. Like, I don't know, man. I'm high on Miranda Maverick right now. She just looks like an absolute beast.
Yeah, I feel like she's the prospect that's going to kind of get us a little bit more excited about the women's division here. We kind of talked about how there's kind of a lack of prospects, but we saw within her UFC debut that she is very capable, and she's at such a young age that she can develop still a lot more. And we're just really excited to see her get back in there, make a name for herself. So I think, like a 3.5 would probably put it there. I don't think Miranda's not ranked yet. I'm not sure if Jillian Robertson's ranked. But
Robertson struggled greatly in her last fight. She didn't look great. So
she did.
And she's taken this fight, pretty quick after her last loss. So I don't know, man. I like Miranda in this one.
She's taking it quick, and then after that loss, she actually fought. It was like kind of like an underground submission promotion, and it was against Pearl Gonzalez. I believe she won that fight. So she's been very active, which is obviously a great thing to kind of just keep at it. So it should be an interesting matchup. But yeah, you got to go with Miranda on that one.
I agree.
So that's rate my matchup. That's a whole lot though. They keep adding. These cards are going to start filling up, and this whole start of 2021 is just really going to be awesome. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, it's been very odd. Like I feel like going into 2021, you basically already know the fights that are going to happen. Or I mean, going into the year, most of the time, you already know the fights that are going to happen. Like the UFC already has them mapped out, and it was basically like not until like the end of December that they started making, these cards and the dates and everything. So it's kind of cool that it's all happening so fast, but it's like, man, it's hard to keep up with. All these fights are being booked and they're all really, really good.
Dude, we didn't know just in this first card of the year. Like I feel like we were trying to do the preview episode, and we just like didn't know what the main card was going to be, because when you go to the ESPN page, it was just empty and they didn't fill it up until I think it was like right around like a week before. So yeah, they're playing a little bit of catch up, but it seems like they're getting there now.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So anyway, we move on to this Wednesday's card is Magny Chiesa. I'd be lying if I said I was super excited about this card. Losing Khamzat Leron was detrimental to this card. I mean, I was really excited for that fight. That kind of sucks. Losing that fight. And it's just a tough task to follow. Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar, like that card from beginning to end was so good. And now it's not that the fights are bad. Like there's good matchups on these cards, but I am excited for Magny Chiesa though. We were talking about it in our interview with Jason Witt. It's a tough one to make a prediction on, man. Like I love Chiesa at welterweight. He's looked great at welterweight. But then you have Neil Magny, who has been there for a while. He's got some big wins, but Magny's kind of been like a roller coaster in his career. He was like the top, everyone was talking about Neil Magny. Then he kind of fell off for a while, took a hiatus. Then he comes back, and since he's been back, he's been really good. So I don't know. This one's really tough to kind of judge, because stylistically they're pretty similar.
Oh, they are like almost spitting images. Like when you just kind of like research this a little bit, like they're both on like a 3-fight win streak. They're both not like huge knockout artists. They're very good at like winning rounds and kind of getting the decision win. They're both like the tall, lankier fighters. Like they match up so well with each other, where it's just going to be a chess match. I don't know what to expect from this one, but I do agree with you. I think losing the Chimaev and Leon fight, like that was like the major headliner that everyone wanted to see. And then Chiesa Magny as a co-main was awesome. As a main event, I think like, again, like a hardcore fan will definitely respect this fight. It could be it's going to be quieter. Let's be honest. The Max Calvin fight, that is like fight of the year material or performance of the year material from Max. But this one's going to be a little bit quieter. So I think people need to kind of get their expectations set a little bit. But also we're looking at a 12 p.m. start time for the main card. Prelims are starting at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday. We're talking about a Wednesday, the middle of the week. This still makes zero sense to me. I have not read anything or heard anything that kind of justified this. I don't know if you've heard or you have any reasoning for this.
I have no idea. Dude,
I don't get it.
It's so funny to me because Dana White is one of the best businessmen around. This is the worst business decision. I mean, granted, like if you're not a hardcore fan, you're probably not going to watch anyway, just based on the names. Like the card doesn't jump off the screen to you, but like if you like UFC and like you enjoy to sit down on Saturdays and watch the fights, I guarantee there's going to be people that are like, wait a minute, there's fights on right now. They're probably going to turn on like ESPN and they're going to think it's a replay, and it's not a replay. It's like actually happening. Like it's very, very odd to have it. Like I can respect like a Saturday card starting at like noon. That's cool. But Wednesday, middle of the week, like there's no holiday. People are working normal jobs. Like there's nothing going on. It's just Let's just have a card at 9 a.m. The prelims start at 9. Like I wake up at 7:30, 8 o'clock. I get like an hour's worth of sleep. What?
I don't know, man.
I'm sorry. That's false. You wake up at like 4:30.
Yeah, all right. That's fine. I don't get out of bed till like 7:30, 8 o'clock. So, I mean, it's very odd. But hey, I'm going to enjoy the day. I'm going to come over, hang out in the studio, watch the fights from 9 o'clock on and enjoy it. So, I'll probably go live a couple times and talk about them. But yeah, no, very, very odd.
And I'm not complaining about more fights. Obviously, triple header week is awesome. I'm super pumped that they're starting it this way. It's just back to back to back. More fights is obviously better. It's just, you have to adjust your schedule a little bit. You got to figure this one out if you really want to watch it. But, we got to do what we got to do. It is what it is.
And so before we start like going into picks and stuff, because I don't know how you want to do it. Do you want to outline both cards and then we just go into all the picks? Or do you want to, I think that we should just talk about the big stuff and then just go right into picks for both cards. I think that would be the quicker, more efficient way to do it. Sure. Yeah, let's do that. So like I was wondering like so obviously both guys, Magny, Chiesa, are on a 3-fight win streak. Like what does this do for them? I think, in my honest opinion, I think Chiesa has the higher potential right now in that division. I don't know. There's just something about Michael Chiesa at that division, not cutting weight like he was. Honestly, I attribute a lot of his losses early on was just to the weight cut. He had horrible weight cuts every single time, and he was very, very open about it. And since he stopped cutting weight as much as he was and fighting at welterweight, he's looked dominating. Like his wrestling is so good. He's been able to control the fights. I like Chiesa a lot in that division.
I know. I like him. So that right now, as it stands, you have Michael Chiesa at number 8. Neil Magny is number 9. Chiesa, I feel like, has kind of been there for a little while. Magny didn't get there until his run in 2020. So you talk about last year, he kind of went under the radar, but he won 3 fights. He went 3-0 in 2020. His competition was not amazing, but it was still solid. Actually, he beat the Leech, who we just saw have his round 1 knockout, and then he beat Anthony Rocco Martin, and he beat Robbie Lawler. So solid competition. It's not a world beater, but it was really just the fashion that he was able to do it. They were all unanimous decision wins. I'm pretty sure all of them were pretty straightforward. I think the Anthony Rocco Martin fight might have been a little bit closer, but I don't know, man. I really like what Magny's putting together. Like I don't want to say he's looked unbeatable, but he has looked very solid. And I feel like Chiesa doesn't fight that often, so I don't really get to see him all that much. But his last 3 wins, he's on a 3-fight win streak. He has Condit, Diego Sanchez, and RDA. Now RDA, that's obviously the biggest name among the 2 of them. So I don't know, man. It's a very close matchup. It is so hard to pick. And right now, Magny is your favorite at -135, which I was a little surprised about. I thought Chiesa would be.
I think that just based on that alone, you have to go Chiesa. The RDA, come on, dude. Look at what RDA did against Paul Felder, albeit a different weight class. But yeah, I mean, I think that Chiesa just he's and Condit. I don't take too much stock in that one or the Diego Sanchez wins because, Condit is just and we all know Diego Sanchez is in outer space half the time. So definitely I don't take too much stock in that, but the RDA one is pretty hefty. That's a pretty good win to have on your resume.
Yeah, but it's also, that's at 170. We saw RDA drop down to 155, and that's kind of where he seems to be better right now. So I don't know. And I think, both of these guys have big size, but actually Magny's going to have a slight advantage here. But it's, you look at all throughout the card here, there are some decent names. Roxanne Modafferi, again, getting no love. Like she's an underdog, like plus 260. She thrives as an underdog. Like everyone's got to keep an eye on that one.
Bet your money on Roxanne. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, absolutely. That should be the saying.
I'm kind of looking over at 257, and I like this card a lot better. So not as many fights. The card seems much smaller, but there's Khalil Roundtree Jr. is back. I can't pronounce this guy's name, but he's going to be a problem. Zuma Gulov.
Oh, is that Shemaev's dad?
No,
right? No, that's not.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Hold on. There's a fighter. I forget his name, and he is a spitting image of Chimaev. He just looks like 10, 20 years older, and he literally looks like Chimaev's dad. I'll find out.
This guy he's got no facial hair or anything.
Okay, then it's not him.
So then you got Antonio Carlos Jr. Then you have, Hooker Chandler. I am so excited for that fight. Like, that is going to be, that's one I don't know how it's going to go, because honestly, I'm not so sold on Michael Chandler, because I look at who he's beat in Bellator, and I think Dan Hooker is better than all the guys he beat in Bellator. And Hooker Chandler's already he lost to Brent Primus. Like, I know he came back and beat him, and it was kind of like an iffy. It was like a weird loss, because it wasn't like he got like knocked out cold or anything. It was like his ankle was all weird and messed up. But I don't know, man. Like, and Hooker opens up as the favorite, -120. I like Hooker in this fight, and I think Chandler's going to have a rough go of it in the UFC. I really do. Like, especially in that division. That division is just a long list of just killers. We talk about it, I feel like, every show.
And that's kind of like the funny thing is, like, Chandler's obviously coming over to the UFC for the first time. He's talked a huge game. He really thinks he is like the best lightweight in the world. The number 6 ranked fighter in this division, and he's freaking tough as nails. Like, this dude is no slouch whatsoever. If Michael Chandler thinks he's going to come in here and have no issues with Dan Hooker, Dan Hooker, who's number 6, like, for a good reason, because it's Tony Ferguson, Conor, Oliveira, like, the killers are above him, and he's really not that much off from them. So he's going to find himself in a world of trouble, in my opinion. I don't really know too much about Michael Chandler. I don't watch Bellator all that much. I was able to go back and watch a few of his fights. I think it was the most recent one against Benson Henderson. He looked okay. He doesn't look incredible. Like, he's definitely a solid fighter, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't mind blown by what I saw. And yeah, you add in the fact that it's not like he's undefeated 30-0 in Bellator. He's lost before. And everyone kind of knows that UFC has the better level of competition. And then when you throw in the fact that it's Dan Hooker, man, he has so much to prove. Like, I don't think there's one person who's really going for Michael Chandler at this point. And he just has the world on his shoulder to prove them wrong. It is a massive fight for him. It's everything.
The only thing I look at for Hooker is he did lose his last fight to Poirier. He got pieced up pretty good. Then his split decision against Felder. I thought Felder honestly won that fight, and that was not me just being a Felder fan. I really think Felder won that fight. Then he beat Iaquinta, which is impressive. Iaquinta is very good. James Vick, garbage. He's not even in the UFC anymore. And then he lost to Edson Barbosa by KO. So I don't think Michael Chandler is KOing anyone, and I think that we've seen Hooker has elevated his game. He has gotten better since that loss to Barboza. And, losing to Poirier is not it's a big deal, but it's like, okay, it's Dustin Poirier. Like, he's fighting Conor McGregor on Saturday. So, I like it. I'm leaning towards Hooker, though, especially the Michael Chandler is 5'8".
Yep.
Dan Hooker is 6 foot. Like, that is going to be a nightmare. He's going to have to take him down to win the fight. And I don't know. I feel like we haven't really seen Hooker get taken down or face any of that adversity yet. So I will be interested to see how that all plays out. But if Hooker can keep it on the feet, I don't think Chandler stands a chance.
Yeah, I think that's literally what it's going to come down to. It's like, sometimes I do feel like if you are like 5'8", you have a lower center of gravity. He's like the short, stocky guy. Like, I do think he'll be able to score some takedowns, but Hooker is also huge. Like, he can definitely stuff those takedowns. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But I think we've seen Hooker on the ground before. I think he can hold his own. We'll see what the power of Chandler is able to do, if he's able to, maintain control, get ground and pound going. But if this stays on the feet, man, Hooker's going to have a field day on Michael Chandler. So it's an awesome co-main. I am very excited to see this. Like I said, I don't know much about Michael Chandler, but this is really his time to shine. If he comes in there, gets a round 1, round 2 knockout, that's going to change up this whole division. And I would be actually pretty pumped to see that. But if he loses, it does not get easier if you're trying to get to the top. So that would not be good for him.
I was gonna say, like, what happens if he loses? Like, because we saw Ben Askren lose, and it was basically lose, and that's it. Like, he came back for the Damian Maia fight, lost again, and then that was it. And if he's not beating Dan Hooker, he's not beating anyone, I think, in like the top 10. Like, if he's not beating Hooker, if he can't handle the striking capabilities of all the guys in that division, there's no way he's beating anyone in the top 10, because that's like, that could be the deadliest division for strikers. I mean, everyone in that division is so good on the feet. It's like, if he can't handle Hooker, who is obviously very good. I mean, he stood toe to toe with Poirier, but he's not going to be able to do anything. And I said it before, if he does not win and win in dominating fashion, he's not going to ever sniff the belt ever. Like, there's no chance. And he's too old to cut down weight. And he's also, I don't even think he carries body fat. So it's not like he could cut weight or drop down. Plus he's older.
Yeah, no, he's like 34 years old right now. So it's really kind of a make or break fight for him. Because then you look at, RDA is ranked number 7. We saw what he just did. He looks incredible. Number 8's Paul Felder. That's a tough fight. I would see him dropping down below that to like the 9 to 15 range. Number 9's Diego Ferreira. 10 is Ally Quinta. 11's Kevin Lee. Like, I could see him more in that tier of people. He really has to turn some heads here, or really his UFC career is going to be very short.
And even those guys, like Kevin Lee, is probably if he moved over to Bellator, probably the best guy in Bellator in that division, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, Benson Henderson was very good, but like, he's over the hill. Like, he's been done for a while, and all Bellator did was just keep running back Chandler versus Benson Henderson, because they had nothing else. Like, that's what I mean. And it's nothing against Michael Chandler. It's like going from high school to Major League Baseball. How many guys do you know graduate high school, and then before you know it, boom, they're at 18 years old playing Major League Baseball? It doesn't happen. You have to grow and you have to get better. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's probably working. He's working out with the best guys, all that stuff. But when your competition is constantly just meh, it's just very hard to grow. And I don't know, man. I just think, like we say, there's levels, and the UFC is the highest level, and it took him a long time to get there. And I wonder why. Like, and the funniest thing is, maybe if he came like 5-6 years ago, he'd have a better shot. This division is deadlier now than it's ever been. And he comes now, which I can respect, but at the same time, it could be a real quick career for him in the UFC.
100%. But how cool would it be if he actually went in there, got a round 1, round 2 knockout finish somehow? Like, that would be kind of incredible, right? That would be very cool.
That'd be something we're talking about for forever, because it's not expected.
Right. And if he comes in as like a powerhouse wrestler who, that's what Khabib is kind of known for. And when you look at the top 5, like, they're not very wrestling heavy outside of Oliveira, who we know is, maybe the best in that division. We get into that later. But if he just turns some heads and he's actually a solid power wrestler, that he can make some moves, but he literally needs to go in there, make a statement out of this. Otherwise, he's done.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm almost more. I mean, I'm excited for both. Like, both fights are just going to be electric. The main event, co-main event. We can kind of cover Conor and Dustin at the end when we make our final picks. But it's going to be electric. I'm super excited for both of those fights. But why don't we say we get into some big picks? I can't talk. Carrie, we'll bring you in. You haven't been on in a while. Been over here just chilling next to me.
You want me to go first?
You know what? Because you are the leader. Well, how about Steve preview it, but we'll let you make the first pick, because you can't preview it because you don't know any stats.
That's fine. I can live with that.
Steve, go ahead. So our first fight. So this, guys, everyone that's listening, we are on the Chiesa Magny card. We are making picks for both cards because this is our preview show. And unfortunately, there's 2 cards this week, but it's double the work this weekend.
Yeah, so we're going to go right into it. So the first fight on this main card, so Chiesa Magny, this main card coming up on Wednesday, we have Leron Murphy versus Douglas Silva de Andraj. So just to set this one up, basically you have Leron Murphy, he's 9-0-1. Okay, so he's an up-and-comer, doesn't have a ton of fights. He's only 1-1 in the UFC, and 6 of his 9 fights have been by knockout. So he actually does utilize his wrestling somewhat, and he does have submissions on. Oh no, he doesn't have any submission. He has submission attempts, but he has no submission victories. So he's definitely more of a striker, going against Douglas Silva de Andraj, who is 26-3. That is insane. He entered the UFC on a 22 fight win streak. So he shows up to the UFC, is 22-0, and now he's 4-3 in the UFC. So obviously the level of competition wasn't there. Gets to this point in the UFC, fights really good competition. His losses are to like Rob Font, Petr Yan, but he also has beaten Marlon Vera. So when you look at this one, like this is like one of those classic ones. I feel like it's the prospect, it's the newcomer taking on the savvy veteran. And when you look at Murphy, he's minus 300. Silva de Andraj is plus 240. I'll set the tone here, and then Kerry can pick first.
All right, I'm up. So I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Silva de Andraj is actually Brazilian for silver Android. And if you're anything like me, you can't stand an Android. It's iPhone all the way. So I'm leaning. I'm going to have to go with Murphy knockout.
Wow. So I'm looking at De Andraj's last 5. His losses are to Petr Yan and Rob Font. He's beaten Renan Barão, who was very, very good. He's no longer with the UFC, but was very good. He's beaten Marlon Vera, and I don't know the other Briones. I don't know him. But I remember watching the fight with Renan Barão, and his pace is very good, doesn't get tired. He does have a reach disadvantage. Leron Murphy, much longer fighter, but I'm gonna ride with the underdog here. I'm gonna go Silva de Andraj. I'm gonna go by decision. I think that he's gonna kind of take the fight to the ground, push the pace. He doesn't have too many takedowns, or he's at least gonna push the pace enough, make Murphy uncomfortable. I don't see him getting a finish, but I feel like he's gonna get kind of push the pace and win this fight by decision.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's kind of what I was hinting towards. That I'm going to go with Silva as well. The only thing that concerns me is it is a 5-inch difference in the reach, and then Murphy's got a 2-inch size advantage. But when you look at the numbers, like these guys are just strictly like knockout artists, so it should be a really fun one. And I like leaning towards the veterans in these types of fights. So I'm going to go Silva, but I'll say he gets the finish, TKO.
Go ahead. Oh. Kerry already
went. Made my pick.
Kerry already went.
You
How
did.
crazy is that?
I know that never really happens. All right, next one we have Matt Snell versus. Do you have this up? Can you pull up the other one, Kerry, or no? Matt Snell versus Tyson Nam. This is kind of another underdog that I really like. I really like Snell. I'm looking at Snell's last couple. So his loss was to Pantoja, who's a stud. Like that dude is going to be like, he's nasty. He lost by KO, but he subbed Espinoza, subbed Luis Smolka, who Luis Smolka has been around forever and is nasty on the ground. So to sub him is pretty ridiculous. So, and then you have Tyson Nam, who his last fight, he looked really good. Like that was probably the best that he's looked, and he won by KO. But he's lost to Cara France, Sergio Pettis. I kind of like Snell in this one. I'm going to go Snell. I'm going to go by submission. I think his ground game is pretty good, and Nam is kind of like the power puncher. He's going to try to look for the knockout. If Snell can get it to the ground, I think he's going to get submission. So that's back-to-back underdogs. He's a plus 105, but I like that plus 105.
Damn, that's what I had too. I like this one. I actually like a lot of the underdogs in this card. I think we're seeing a lot of those like early prospects coming in, taking on some of these veteran guys. This one's actually, Tyson Nam actually he's 20-11-1. He's been around the block, only 2-2 in the UFC, whereas Matt Schnell's actually 4-2 in the UFC, so has a little bit more of that high level competition. And like you said, his loss to Pantoja, I mean, that's nothing to shake your head at. That's actually a solid fighter all around. But Matt Schnell, man, 8 submissions. That's more than half of his wins by submission. I really like that. I hate to copy your picks early on, but I am going Schnell by submission.
See, now I know I'm a little bit older than you guys. So I have a better memory of history. I don't know if you heard of a little thing called Nam. It was hell. I think Schnell's going to bring the hell to Nam. So I'm with you on this one, guys. I'm going Snell, and from the looks of it, it's going to be submission. So I'll go Snell submission as well. Snell submission as well.
So all three of us have that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Steve, you want to preview our girl Roxanne, sorry.
Roxanne Modafferi, man, she gets no love every single time. Like, what's going on with that? Like, how many times does she need to win before they're going to listen? I don't know. But her last few fights, so you talk about like the prospect versus the veteran. Her last few fights, she's fought Andrea Lee, Lauren Murphy, Macy Barber, Jennifer Maya, Antonina Shevchenko. Like, she has faced a ton of great competition. Yeah, she is more like an up and down. She wins here, loses there. Hasn't been too consistent, but she just has a really good style where she's a very good wrestler. She doesn't throw a whole ton of volume, but she does hold control really well. She's good with the takedowns. And I kind of see her going this way in this fight. I mean, Vivian Araújo. Yeah, I'll go Araujo. She's a solid fighter. She does scare me a little bit. She's 2-1 in her last 3. She is going to have, does she have the size advantage? No, Roxanne actually has the size advantage. So I think that's going to play a big factor in this one as well. So I don't really know too much about Araujo, but I am going to go Roxanne. I feel like she's just with the money here, the plus money where she's plus 260. I like her style. I think she can make it work a lot of the time. So I'll go with her by decision.
Damn you, Steve. Come on.
I know.
Yeah, I'm feeling Roxanne too for the same reasons. She's always the underdog, and every time she's a heavy underdog, she seems to prevail and put on a hell of a performance. I know that Araujo has pretty good takedowns herself. She's the better striker statistically. She seems like she can handle herself well, but Roxanne's got almost 40 fights, over 40 fights. Like that's just absurd. Where Vivian has 11. I mean, that's a massive advantage. And honestly, I like Modafferi. I think that she's getting closer to the end here, but I'm gonna go Modafferi. I'm gonna go by decision as well. I like the plus money there.
You guys are killing me.
Why?
Why? Because this is gonna be 2 picks in a row. Because I can only do so. I can't do anything with Araujo. So,
are you making fun of me or
no? I can't pronounce it either. So I mean, the only way I made my pick was just Roxanne. You don't gotta turn on the red light.
I'm gonna have to cut that out. People are gonna.
No, please don't. So I'm going Modafferi as well. So we'll go TKO. What is? Listen, there's a method to the madness.
Okay,
just let it happen.
Okay. Steve, look up when's the last time Roxanne Modafferi had a TKO.
Listen,
boy, it's not her style. I'll say that. Let's see.
You never know.
Oh goodness, that's hilarious. All right, next we move on to Ike Villanueva versus Vincius Morera. Yeah. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I haven't seen either of these guys fight. Ike Villanueva, crazy record, 16-11, 27 fights. And then you have Morera with what's 9 + 4? 13.
Yeah.
So 13 fights, not the greatest record. He seems to be a little bit more well-rounded though than Villanueva on paper. He's also the underdog in this fight. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage, a little bit taller. Villanueva seems like more of a striker, but Morera is very much more accurate. I'm going to go Morera. I'm going to go by TKO in this one. I think I'm feeling a little frisky in that one. I'm going Morera TKO.
There you go. So just real quick, Roxanne, July 6, 2018, she got a TKO win. So but that was also like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that's like 8 fights ago. But not terrible. It's possible.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I mean, there's always a chance.
Exactly.
That's what's so great about the sport.
Exactly.
But yeah, so this is kind of a weird fight. So Morera is he won on the Dana White Contender Series. Since then, has gone 0-3. That's to Alonzo Menefield, your boy and our boy, Eric Anders, and then also Paul Craig. So tough competition to start in the UFC.
That's pretty tough. Yeah.
He was finished in all of those. So 2 of them were by TKO, 1 of them by submission. And most of his wins are by submission. 8 of his 9 wins are by submission.
Damn, I should have done my research.
I know. And then you talk about Villanueva, though. So he's 0-2 in the UFC. Also, both of those finished. He was knocked out in both of them. And that was not against, Chase Sherman and Jordan Wright. That's probably a lesser level of competition there. And he's a knockout artist. So he's 13 of 16 wins by TKO or KO. So it's really like power versus grappling. A guy with a ton of knockouts, a guy with a ton of submissions. I feel like you kind of usually lean towards the wrestler and the grappler in these ones. So I am going to go by submission Morera.
Can I switch my pick?
No.
This is the one that I didn't like. I've been clicking view profile and looking at their past fights, and this was the one that I didn't.
Ike, again, we're going with a language lesson. Villanueva, which means new house. Since I built a new house last year and I've been living in a new house, I'm gonna have to go with Villanueva. I'm not gonna be stupid and make a decision like I did with Modafferi, so I'll just go with knockout.
Okay.
I think that's appropriate.
Yes, especially since he's been knocked out his last 3 fights. I think that's a much more acceptable pick.
All right,
Steve, take us to the next one.
All right. So yeah, this actually has 6 fights on the main card, which is more than usual. But so now this is the co-main. This has been bumped up to the co-main. I feel like I should know who Warley Alves is. Is he pretty well known? I feel like I know the name, but I feel like I haven't seen him fight.
Okay, so I did see him fight. No, it's been a while, I think, since he's fought. He beat Randy Brown, but Randy Brown's last loss was a while ago. Blachowicz, so he hasn't fought since November 16th of 2019. Okay. He lost to Randy Brown. He's also lost to James Krause by KO.
That actually reminds me. I wanted to ask our guy Jason Witt about how they felt about Joaquin Buckley, but that is a different thing. But yeah, so Warley Alves taking on, I cannot pronounce this, Moner Laziz. Go with that.
Yeah.
But Alves, so he must have been like a pretty hot prospect because he's fought Colby Covington. He's fought Kamaru Usman. Like you said, he fought James Krause. Like that's a pretty insane level of competition in the UFC. He has the 4-inch reach advantage. That's Laziz. Laziz has the 4-inch reach advantage, has the 10-1 pro record. So we're looking at that same prospect versus the old-time veteran here. So 10-1 pro record for Laziz. He's only 1-0 in the UFC. He got a unanimous decision win versus Al Hassan, who's the guy, if you remember, got knocked out in 10 seconds by Chaos Williams, who's a dangerous fighter. I remember looking into him. He's a really good fighter, so that unanimous decision win is very legit. So I don't know. I feel like I should be going with Warley Alves just based on that level of competition, but I kind of like Laziz here, and I like him to get it by TKO.
Steve, you got to stop doing this to me, man.
I don't know. I don't know what to do.
I'm going Laziz TKO as well. I look at Alves. I look at Laziz's record. He's got a ton of KOs, so 3 of his last 5 wins are by KO, TKO. And the competition is great. Like, yeah, Warley Alves, he's faced tough guys, but that can only play a part for so long. I mean, he lost to Randy Brown, which Randy Brown is great, but not, he's not, that good. So I don't think that's very good for his record. Also, he hasn't been very active. And with Laziz having the stand-up advantage, I'm going Laziz on this one.
All right. I mean, on one hand here, you got Munir, which sounds just like Mjolnir, which is Thor's hammer. So he's got the strike advantage. He can drop the hammer. But his opponent, Warley, he's got war in his name. The man's ready for it, right? So I'm going Alves submission.
I thought you were going Laziz, give you a disease.
And also, since you guys didn't really give me much of a choice,
I'm coming for you.
And
that
there you
is
have
the
it.
scary pick
That's fair.
against both members. Double scary carry.
Yeah, me and Zach have the same picks all the way through right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. No, we did change. One's not the same. One is the same person, but not the same method.
I think we're gonna be different on this one, on the main event.
Yeah, so main event, we have Chiesa, Magny, and listen, this one's been tough. I've been thinking about, so when this fight was first booked, and like we said, we didn't really hear about it till a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of like I thought, I don't know how I'm gonna pick this fight because I like both guys, and also like Magny is kind of like he's been around the block. I feel like he's fought everyone, but then you got Michael Chiesa. His last win against RDA was so impressive. And I feel like the only people that can beat Chiesa are guys that can wrestle and have great stand-up. And I feel like that is kind of Magny. Like Magny has the wrestling to stuff Chiesa's takedowns, and he's a better striker. So it is tough for me. But Michael Chiesa is my guy. I've been a fan of his for a while. I really like him. I've said it over and over again at welterweight. I like the plus money here. I'm going to go Chiesa. I'm going to go by decision. The Maverick.
Chiesa decision. Yeah, man, this is one of the hardest ones to pick. It is, to me, it's just a straight up flip a coin. It is so hard. They're so well matched with each other. And then we've said it a million times. It's going to be a chess match. You look at Michael Chiesa's last three. Against Condit, he had 4 takedowns. Against Diego Sanchez, he had 5 takedowns. Against RDA, he threw 9 strikes with 6 takedowns and 1 unanimous decision. Like he has that ability to take you down, hold you down. His grappling's very good. He has a ton of submission wins on his record. He's just super difficult. But you look at Neil Magny, he is, what is he, 6'4" or 6'3"? He's massive. He's going to have almost a 5-inch reach advantage. I don't think the disadvantage on the ground is going to be that big. Like, yes, Chiesa will probably have the advantage as the wrestler and the grappler. But what we've seen Neil Magny do in recent fights, he can easily hold his own on the ground. And he has that lanky frame to even, be the guy taking the back and actually deal some damage to Chiesa that way. And then I think if it's actually a stand-up fight at any point, Magny by far is going to have the advantage there. So it's really just a matter of like where this is going to go throughout the 5 rounds. So I know you like Chiesa here. I just really like what Magny's done in his last 3 fights that all happened in 2020. Very fresh. He's very active. I'll go Magny decision.
Yeah, I agree with you. I literally picked Chiesa based on the fact that I'm a bigger fan of his than Magny. Not that I dislike Magny, but I like Michael Chiesa. So I'll go with Chiesa. But fun fact, the people that have been on the UFC broadcast, I know that he's not Octagon side, but the people who have been on the UFC broadcast have not been putting on a very good record in the Octagon since joining the broadcast. So maybe Chiesa, maybe that's some bad juju. I don't know yet. We'll see.
Magny, despite being the Haitian sensation, I don't think anybody out there is going to be afraid of a guy named Neil. Chiesa, nicknamed the Maverick. I gotta keep it there with our friend Miranda Maverick. So based on the nickname Maverick, I'm going with Chiesa, and I'll go submission.
Ooh, all right. Yeah, Chiesa's a mauler, man. But like Steve said though, Magny's very good on the ground too, and he's a better stand-up. So it's gonna be freaking razor thin. I feel like it's gonna be a really good fight. Like I said, if you're a UFC fan, you will enjoy that fight.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I look at, I use UFC Stats, which is an awesome website. Quick plug for UFCstats.com. But like Chiesa just like doesn't throw volume. Like in his last 7 fights, like he throws less than 20 strikes. He just literally gets you on the ground and just goes to work. Like he's not a striker. He is a wrestler and a grappler just through and through.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So now we move on to Conor Dustin, UFC 257, the moment everyone's been waiting for. We are all excited, super amped. It's going to be a great card. It's going to be a great co-main and main event. I'm super, super excited for it. And only five fights on this one to pick. But, even the prelims on this one are pretty good, and the prelims on the other one are pretty good too. I did want to mention there's some really good names on the prelims. You got Amari Akhmedov, Tom Breese, Ricky Simone, Mudajari, or Maderji, who had a crazy knockout. He's a minus 470 favorite. And then you had Lingimbula, who was on the Contender Series, who's good. You have Khabib's cousin on that one. So that's going to be a crazy prelims for that. So that's good. And then on this card, you have Tavares, is that Brad Tavares? No, that's not Brad Tavares, is it? It is Brad Tavares. Wow. He's fighting Antonio Carlos Jr., Molly McCann, Khalil Roundtree. I mean, there's just Nick Lentz. There's a really good fights just all over on Wednesday and Saturday. So make sure you guys tune in early. And I might even go live a couple times, talk about some fights. So, check that out. But first one, we have Marina Rodriguez, Amanda Ribas. Dude, I did not realize Amanda Ribas is only 5'3". That is mind-boggling to me. But she's, got really good stand-up. She's very good on the ground. She's fought. Her last fight was against Paige Van Zandt. She won by submission. She's won her last 5. She's 10-1. I mean, great record. What's also weird is Marina only has 1 loss, but 2 draws, which is also odd. You don't see that too often. So she's got more draws than she does losses. But I like the competition for Ribas a little bit more with Dern. She's beat Dern, unanimous decision. She beat Marcos, and she beat Paige Van Zandt. I mean, those are 3 pretty lofty opponents. So I'm going to go Amanda Ribas here. I'm going to go by submission. I like her on the ground. I thought the submission she had on Paige was good. She's crafty. I like her. I think she's going to get it done.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about Amanda Ribas where I feel like she's one of those fighters that has gotten overhyped a little bit. And I'm not saying she's not good because she does hold those. Like Mackenzie Dern obviously is a great fighter. I don't think she was the same fighter because that was a few years back, and Mackenzie Dern's pretty young. But like Randa Marcos, that's pretty tough competition. Paige Van Zandt, not really, but the submission is always impressive. But for some reason, I don't know. You go on social media, it's Amanda Ribas like everywhere. Everyone loves her. I just feel like she's getting a little bit overblown. And I'm actually surprised at how big of a difference there is, the minus 310 versus the plus 250, because Marina Rodriguez is a really good fighter. She just fought Carla Esparza. Very close fight. I think that was a split decision. I actually think, if I remember correctly, I think I had Marina winning that one. She's going to be bigger. She has the reach advantage. Oh, no, she doesn't. Ribas has the reach advantage. Damn, I keep doing that. But I like Marina Rodriguez. Like, I think she really is just a better striker. She's very tough, very dangerous. She throws a lot of volume. I still like where her level's competition has been at. Like you said, she does have a lot of fights. She has a really good record on hand. And I think just with the plus money they're giving her, I really like that. I'm going to go Marina, and I'll go decision.
Guys, it's just I'm taking you to school today, so it's just going to be another language lesson. Ribas, Brazilian for ribs. Huge fan of ribs. Love ribs. Love when they fall off the bone. Delicious. Don't know how you can deny them. So I'm going to have to go Amanda Ribas, submission.
There you have it. The leader is siding with me, Steve. That means you're in danger. You're going to be in last place next week.
Wait a second. Harry Carey versus Steve.
Boy.
I still can't get over the picture with the helmet. It still makes me laugh. All right, next one. This is a tough one for me. This one, I'm looking at the profiles of both guys. Matt Frivola, Otman Azatar. So Frivola, 8-1. He's beaten Pain. Is that what?
Louis Pena, Bob Roth.
That's what I thought. So he beat him by decision, split. He also beat Jalen Turner by unanimous decision. So those are pretty too. And then he had a draw with Lando Venata. So I mean, those are pretty tough opponents. Which is good. I like that. But then you have, hold on, my phone's bugging out here as I'm trying to pull up the stats. Then you have Otman Azatar, 13-0, which is a great record. And his last knockout, so this is the only fight I really know of his. He's only got 2 fights in the UFC. His last knockout versus Worthy was nasty. Like, it was sick. But it's just, for me, like, I look, so it's TKO, TKO, KO, KO, KO. Like, that's his last 5, which is dangerous. Like, that's the guy's got crazy power. But it's almost the people that are on, like, that Frivola has fought. It kind of makes me a little leery to pick him. But I'm going to go Azatar here. I'm going to stick with the trend. I'm going to go knockout.
This is an awesome fight. Straight up, this is an awesome fight. I've seen Azatar fight. He is deadly. He has some serious power. Like you said, like Kama Worthy, I remember came into the UFC, kind of made a name for himself, and Azatar just shut him down quick first round. So Azatar is 2-0 in the UFC. Both of those are round 1 knockouts, and he has 10 wins of his 13 wins by knockout. Like, this dude just goes in there, throws bombs, and he hits you, you go down. But Matt Frivola, like you said, like a win over Luis Pena, Violent Bob Ross, that's very solid. That is extremely difficult to do. He's a solid wrestler. He fights under Sarah Longo, which is Matt Serra, and I forget Longo's first name.
Ray Longo.
Ray Longo, because he's always on the John Anik podcast. But anyone who's under Sarah Longo wins. I'm picking up on that. Like, they have Marab, they have Aljamain Sterling. The guys that they have on their squad, they just always win. There's something to it.
Not Ally Quinta.
Yeah, but he's a good fighter. I don't know. I'm just like a trend as of late. It seems like some of these guys they have are just coming in and they're just unbelievable. And I just like that. I really like that win over Violent Bob Ross. Like, that just makes me think he can kind of survive that round 1 scare and then maybe just make this a wrestling match. So I like the Frivola plus odds too. So I'll go with Frivola by decision.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm going with Ottman. Just say that right off the bat. I don't know if you guys remember a little thing in history class called the Ottoman Empire. It was huge, just spread all across Asia. I don't know, maybe parts of Europe. I'm not that great into history. But so I'm gonna have to go with Ottman Azatar with a knockout.
All right, Steve, take us through Jessica Ai and JoJo Calderwood.
Yeah, man, this is I feel like just one of those women's fights where I'm not really too excited about it. Like, I feel like this is one of those fights, like, you've seen these names all the time. Like, it's just like, it's not a fresh matchup. It's not really something new. But it does have implications. You have number 6 Jessica Ai, and you have number 7 Joanne Calderwood. So Jessica Ai, she has kind of been up and down in her career. She started like 1-5 in the UFC, went on a 3-fight win streak, ended up fighting for the belt not too long ago. I think it was just in 2019 against Shevchenko, and she got knocked out pretty quick. She has faced a ton of solid competition. I feel like these guys these girls are very similar in that regard, where they have faced solid competition, but they're not world beaters. But then you look at Joanne Calderwood. She has a win over Andrea Lee, Arlene Lipsky, Courtney Casey. That's solid competition to beat. She just throws more volume when you look at her stats. She mixes in the wrestling a lot. She has some submission wins on record. So I kind of lean Calderwood here. I think this is kind of another one of those where it's almost a coin flip, but I am going to go with Calderwood, and I'll take it by decision.
Steve, I hate you. You said everything I was going to say. I agree. I think Calderwood is all around. I think she's better in all areas. I mean, you look at the stats. She got a higher striking percentage, lands more significant strikes, better takedown accuracy, and averages more takedowns in a fight. The only thing she doesn't, and it's close, is submission average. So I think Calderwood all around is just better. It's close. To me, it's almost a pick'em fight. But if you look at the stats and everything, I'm going to lean towards Calderwood here. I'm going to go Calderwood by decision.
Jessica Evil Eye coming into the octagon. I ain't scared. Wife gives me the evil eye all the time, so I'm used to it. I think Calderwood's going to come out fire, and she's going to change that to Jessica Black Eye. Calderwood's going to take it. TKO.
I love your women TKO picks because they just don't happen that often.
There's a chance, man. There's always a chance.
You are 100%.
I like to dream, man. I like to dream.
All right, so Steve, I did this for you because I want you to preview Poirier McGregor. I feel like McGregor is your guy, so I'll preview Hooker and Chandler. We've kind of already talked about it earlier in the show. I think what makes this matchup so exciting is the fact that everyone has questions about how good is Michael Chandler, and I think that. I was a little pissed when he first came over and it was, he's going to fight Khabib. He's a replacement for Khabib, or he's going to fight for the belt right away. No, didn't like that. I think that this is a perfect test for him. This is the perfect first fight in the UFC for him. I'm excited to see it. I've been very judgmental of guys that like him, like Askren, that have made the jump over to the UFC at a later in their career. It hasn't worked out more times than it has. And so I don't know. Dan Hooker is much taller. As you said earlier, he's proven to be able to stuff takedowns. Now, granted, Michael Chandler is next level wrestling, but you just look at the body of work from Michael Chandler, and 21-5 is impressive, but when you're running against Benson Henderson 3 times and you've already lost to a guy in Brent Primus and all that stuff like that, to me doesn't scream very exciting. What is interesting is if you look at Michael Chandler's stats, so he actually his accuracy is at a 47%, where Hooker's at 48, and he averages almost 2.5 or at 2.5 takedowns a fight. But Hooker's I think he's going to keep the fight at a distance. He's going to pick him apart. You also have to factor in he's got pretty decent kicks. I really like Hooker in this fight. I've tried to get on the Michael Chandler hype train. I really have. I've looked at the competition. I've tried because he's been talked about forever. I just can't get excited about it. I can't. there's something about it, and maybe he'll prove me wrong. And if he does, that's great. It makes for great talking points on this show. I just got to go Dan Hooker here, and I think I'm going to go TKO. I think Dan Hooker is gonna pick him apart.
It feels that way. I feel the same exact way. I feel like I don't know what it is, but we know Dan Hooker. We've seen him around. We know how dangerous he can be. We just don't know about Michael Chandler. Just flat out, I don't have a good reason to choose him just based on how great Dan Hooker has looked in the UFC versus how Michael Chandler has. Yeah, he has been pretty dominant in Bellator, but he does have some losses. And I remember watching his fight against Benson Henderson, and I just really wasn't satisfied with what I saw. I just didn't think it was next level competition. If he was 30-0 in Bellator, maybe I'd give him more stock, but he has been beaten by what we think is lesser competition. Dan Hooker's just going to be a much bigger guy. I think he's going to be a stronger guy. He can strike. He can also wrestle. He has a background with grappling and whatnot. So if it goes to the ground, I think he'll be able to make some moves there. I think there's just so much on Michael Chandler to prove everyone wrong, and there's just not enough for me to go on to give him the advantage. And I did kind of look into his background a little bit. Chandler was a D1 collegiate wrestler. He has a ton of accolades at Division I, which is awesome. We see that pretty common in the UFC with some of these guys. But it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. It's just the Bellator name. I just can't put too much stock into it. So he has to earn it. After this, maybe I'll take him more serious if he gets a win, but I have to go with Hooker, and I also go TKO.
Also, he wasn't even the champ when he left Bellator. He lost the belt to Patricio Pitbull.
I feel if Patricio came, it'd be kind of a different story, right?
Yeah. But he lost the belt to Primus, won it back, then lost it to Pitbull. And then he won his last 2, but one was against Outlaw and Benson Henderson. And both of them were KOs, which is great, but they're not Dan Hooker. So it's just I've tried. I've honestly tried to get hyped about Michael Chandler, and I cannot do it, and I don't know why.
And it's just, I think a lot of it really just has to do with just Dan. It's just this division and how stacked it is. And Dan Hooker, yes, he's number 6, but dude, he's right there with all these top 5 guys. He is so good. Your first UFC debut is going to be against a killer in Dan Hooker. You got to prove me wrong. I'm sorry.
They could have put Chandler against Paul Felder, and I think I'm riding with Paul Felder.
Right.
Felder in a full camp has shown to stuff takedowns, and I think he would pick Michael Chandler apart. I really do. And That's just my take right now. And like you said, maybe he proves us wrong, and it's great for content. And in ways I hope it happens. But like you said, if he shows us this weekend that he can do it, then we start taking him a little bit more serious.
No doubt Hooker's a cooker. He'll throw you on the grill, chew you up, spit you out. But I think what we're going to find out here is Chandler's a handler, right? He's going to, I think he'll take it to the ground and he'll handle Hooker. Maybe not dominantly, but I think Hooker will slip up and Chandler will get him in a submission, and that's how we'll see this end. So I'm going to go Chandler with a submission.
Hooker has not fought anyone as good of a wrestler as Chandler. So I'm not saying it can't happen. Like, he could take Hooker to the ground and throw up subs and Hooker have no idea what's going on. But also what's going to make that so tough is just the size difference. Hooker is just so much taller. Like, it's so much harder to throw submissions up on a guy when you have shorter arms and are a shorter guy. It's hard to keep the submission too.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where Chandler's cardio is at, but I did rewatch the Dustin Poirier Dan Hooker fight. Granted, Hooker was like pretty gassed after around round 4/5, but that was like an absolute war, and Dustin Poirier's pace is just so much more than what I think Michael Chandler's will be. So it's kind of hard to compare those two. But Poirier was able to land some of the takedowns kind of later on when Hooker was more tired. So maybe it goes that direction. I don't know enough about Michael Chandler and his cardio and like what his power is like. How often does he get the takedowns? I don't really know too much.
41.67% of the time.
There you go.
All right,
Cool.
Steve, take us through. I gave the big job to you. Do us justice. Poirier, McGregor.
Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2. Like, it's just awesome that this is happening so quick in 2021. This is obviously a rematch. They fought back in, I think it was like 2012. Pretty big fight back then. Like, they were both like top 10 ranked guys, and McGregor was able to take him out. I think it was within 2 rounds. But you fast forward to today, and it's just, you look at Dustin Poirier and what he's done in his last, bunch of fights. He's 5-1 in his last 6. That one loss was Khabib, and everyone else he's beaten, it's Dan Hooker. He beat Max Holloway, which, you can kind of go into that a little bit. Yeah, Max Holloway jumped up a weight class, but after what Max Holloway just did to Calvin Kattar, I think Max Holloway could definitely kind of hold his own at 155 if he wanted to. So I think Poirier shutting down Holloway is actually huge. He beat Eddie Alvarez. He beat Justin Gaethje. He beat Showtime Pettis. Like, Dustin Poirier is absolutely no joke. The dude's cardio is off the charts. His boxing is tremendous. He has a ground game. He is very well-rounded. He's super dangerous. And honestly, he might just be the best fighter in this division, not named Khabib. He really might be. He is incredible. The odds are not showing that right now, but a lot of people are counting out Dustin. But dude, he is an unbelievable fighter. But then in steps Conor McGregor, the notorious one, Conor McGregor. He is on another planet. He really is. That's just like his own mindset. It's from our mindset. We just look at Conor. We're always looking up at him. He is amazing. Yes, he has not been active. He fought Cowboy just a year ago at 170, ended that fight in an instant. The previous fight before that was the Khabib fight. And then kind of in between that was like his weird Floyd Mayweather thing going on. But, he's always been training. He has always stayed true to the game, whether it be boxing or whether it be MMA. The dude seems to always be in the gym. When you talk about this guy in his prime, he's, you look at the Jose Aldo fight. He wins that within 13 seconds. That's a title fight that I don't think anyone will really repeat what happened. That was the fastest title fight victory in history. And it's just, you look at what he's able to do from a striking standpoint. Yes, we say Dustin is capable. He's a very tremendous boxer, but Conor McGregor, a lot of people think, is the greatest striker of all time. That left hand, that power that he holds in it, he can end a fight in an absolute instant. And it's just going to be, it's always, to me, whoever is fighting Conor is going to be on an uphill climb. Like, I really hold Conor in that highest regard. And it just, when I look at like the pictures of him and the training that he's doing, the dude has some insane power. If he's able to actually cut down to 155 and he makes weight, I just think the power is just going to be too much for Dustin to handle. And I can see this being ended within the first 2 rounds. So that's my prediction. I have Conor Conor McGregor winning this by TKO in round 2.
Yeah, everything you said, 100% accurate. The thing with me is you just a guy like Dustin stays active, has fought the best, and Conor Conor has obviously fought the best, but not as active. I don't take too much stock into the Cowboy fight. You know, Cowboy is nothing against him. That's my boy, but Cowboy is not Conor McGregor level, especially at this point. I think it's very disrespectful, the odds. Like, I think it should be much closer. I don't disagree with Conor being the favorite, but Dustin at plus 240, like, that's good money to be made, honestly. Like, Dustin Poirier is as good a striker in the UFC as there is. Like, to the point that you made, though, the biggest problem with Dustin is he gets hit. You know, he does absorb a lot of punches, and because of that, you know, I don't think he's going to get knocked out. He does not get knocked out very often. He really doesn't. I know Conor has great power, great left hand, but Dustin also, you know, he's got a chin. I see this kind of being, I think, honestly, the first 2 rounds is going to be very testy. Those two guys are going to kind of be feeling each other out, kind of seeing how it goes. And then I think as it progresses, I think the fight kind of starts leaning in Dustin's favor a little bit. If the fight gets to the 4th and 5th rounds and it's close, I think it starts leaning towards Dustin. Now, if Conor goes out rounds 1, 2, pieces up and solidifies the rounds and it goes to decision, I think it's going to lean towards McGregor. But if it's close, if it's razor thin and it gets to the 4th, 5th round, I think it starts to lean towards Dustin, especially if he starts working in the takedowns. My gut tells me Dustin. But you can't bet against Conor McGregor. You just can't do it. It's Conor McGregor. Whenever you bet against him, you did it against Eddie Alvarez. What do you do? Crazy knockout. What do you do against Jose Aldo? 13 seconds. You can't bet against him. You know, I don't believe everything that they say. You know, this is the greatest shape he's ever been in. All that, like, he's constantly training. I firmly believe that. So I'm going to go McGregor, but I'm going to go by decision. I think that the first 2 rounds is going to be close, but I think that he'll kind of solidify it. I could see him knocking down Dustin a couple times. I don't know if he's going to get the finish, though. Dustin is a really hard guy to knock out.
He is. And I the one narrative I don't love is, like, people, when we compare, it's like, okay, Poirier, McGregor, they fought back in 2012, and now everyone's saying, well, that's different. You know, Dustin's a different fighter. Well, Conor has developed too. Since then, since 2012, dude, he's been a simultaneous champ, the first to ever do it. And he's gone on to do incredible things. So I don't really like that narrative too much, because I do think McGregor developed just as much, if not more. And I do believe that in his time off, like, he's still training. Like, he looks so good. And I do believe some of the hype coming into it, that he's coming in incredible shape. His power is just some of the best that we've seen, especially in that division. I'm really buying into the hype. I think Conor's going to get it done. I think we're all going to be mind blown, and I'm hoping the Khabib fight happens after that.
It'll be absolutely crazy if he loses, though, because the UFC will be completely shaken up, and Dana White will probably be crying because he is hoping. He's made it clear. He's basically hoping for Conor to win because he wants Conor Khabib. So it's very odd when your boss, like Dustin's, even fighting against his, like, he's trying to play spoiler at this point. And you see a guy with a chip on his shoulder. I don't know. I'm taking Conor, but I wouldn't be lying to you if I said I wouldn't be hyped up if Dustin Poirier somehow comes out and gets it done. Like, it would be sad because everyone loves Conor, but how could you not be amped up for someone like Dustin Poirier if he gets it done? You know, fighting with that chip on his shoulder, plus 240, man. If I saw that, I'd be pissed.
I would too, and don't get me wrong, I love Dustin Poirier, like, nicest guy, like, he is the man, like, everyone loves the diamond, like, he's just a tremendous fighter. He's really proven himself in this division. I know, like, everyone faces the same fate when you go against Khabib, so you can't really hold too much into that, but I really think, like, Dustin, outside of Khabib and McGregor, like, he's the best guy in that division. Like, he's unbelievable. So for him to go out there, prove everyone wrong, that would be amazing. Absolutely.
I gotta be honest with you guys. I really wanted to do an Irish accent for this one, but I don't know if I can get it done. We're gonna give it a go anyway. So cross your fingers. Hope this goes well. Well, laddies, I gotta tell you, I'm hopping on the McGregor train. Just a little blurb there. We'll go with that.
Okay.
Um,
That's good.
But look, McGregor's no beggar. I don't think he's going to let it go the distance. I don't think it's going to be a decision. Won't be a shamrock shake, but it'll be an Irish McFlurry. He's going to take it against Poirier in a TKO. I'm going third round TKO.
For Conor.
Yep.
So what's my scary carry?
Well, yeah. So I was actually supposed to hit that for
Chandler
Hooker, and I'm going to exempt Steve. So we'll hop back to that real quick. I'm taking the scary carry versus Zach on Chandler versus Hooker.
Alrighty, and there you have it, folks. So anyway, guys, long episode, double the picks, but it's going to be a hell of a week in fights. Make sure you guys, anything else to say before we wrap this up, Steve?
No, just for the good of the cause, just make sure to check out the recap episodes that we'll be hosting on the Fight Bananas channel on both YouTube and Facebook. That's going to be right after the main event on Wednesday, which should probably end around 3-ish. And then again on UFC 257, we go back to a normal time. That's going to be the 10 p.m. start for the main card. So we're going to be in for a late night, fellas, on Saturday. Get ready.
Yeah, Saturday we're going to be drinking lots of coffee, jacked up on our caffeine, but wouldn't want it any other way. Guys, we're Coffee and KOs presented by Fight Bananas. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Coffee and KOs 1. Make sure you go check us out. Follow us everywhere. Give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, comment on our stuff, subscribe on YouTube, all that great stuff. So anyway, we will see you all on Wednesday.